All right, I'd like to make this part in Solidworks. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start a new part. I'll use my inch/pound/second part, or template rather, and we have this as being 4 high by 6 wide by 5 deep. So I'll go ahead and create a sketch on the front plane, corner rectangle, and go to Smart Dimension 4 and 6, features, extruded boss. I'm going to flip the direction because I want to have this being my front surface, and I'm going to go back to a depth of 5. Okay, there's plenty of ways to do this part, so I'm only going to show you one here as a subtractive method. I'm going to be my hidden lines removed. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch on the top surface, and I'm going to remove this main chunk of material. So I'm going to go to corner rectangle, drop it in here, and this is 3 wide, 2 deep, and it's offset from each of its respective surfaces by 1. Now while I'm doing this, I should mention that making a part like this, you can run into difficulties when you make certain cuts, that you will get errors to say that you're about to make a 0 thickness piece. So it can be frustrating, and you just need to be aware of what it is that you're trying to do. Sometimes you're trying to remove material that will completely remove a surface or an edge that's necessary for another feature. So I'll probably get into that in another video. So let's go to features. We'll do extruded cut, and we need to extrude down a distance of 3 here. So we'll go to a distance of 3, and we'll go ahead and do that. The next sketch I'm going to make, so I'll click to deselect. I'll go to the sketch tab, click on sketch, and I'll select this surface. Now what I want to do is I want to show the hidden lines so that I can see that the part that I'm about to cut is actually already pretty much well defined. So I'll utilize the hidden geometry so I can snap to that corner. I can be coincident to this edge, and I'll recognize that the part that I'm trying to make, as a matter of fact, this side and this side are equal to each other, so I can set an equal constraint there, and everything's fully defined. So what I'm going to do is extrude this cut, and I'm going to go up to that surface. So features, extruded cut, and get back to this view, and instead of using blind, I'm going to go up to surface, and I'll select this surface as being the surface I'm going to move up to. Again, I'm not sure why SolidWorks isn't highlighting the up to surface. I think we can use the full preview if I want. It's not really great when it does that, but we'll go ahead and say okay. So we can see that SolidWorks has done what we wanted it to do. So now I'm going to again use sketch, and I'm going to sketch on this surface, and this time I'm going to remove this square. So I'm going to select this vertex, come down and make sure I grab this edge somewhere so that I'm coincident to it. And I purposely went long because I want to be able to use my control key to select these 2 edges and make them collinear to each other. Now again, I'm going to use this cut and go up to this surface here. So features, extruded cut, and I'm going to select up to surface and make sure I get in here and select the right surface. It's hard to tell with just being face 1. Again, I should say that that should be highlighted, but if you do the extrusion and it's not the right surface, you have to come back and grab it out and do it again. So let me go back into just line mode. And what I now need to do is I need to take out this material. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this whole piece out and go back a distance of 2. So I'm going to go sketch, select this surface, and again I'm going to make my hidden lines visible so I can grab things that I want, and I'm going to start my line here, not on this line. I have to come over 1 from that. So I'm going to go down, and I'm going to go over. I'm purposely missing some things so I can put my constraints on afterwards. and over to this vertex, up to this corner. So again, to make sure that I have a closed surface for what I want to do. Now, the only dimension I'm going to need to put in here is from here to here. Actually, I don't think I need any dimensions. Let me hold that off for a second and let me delete it for the time being, because this line and has to be coincident with this line, or collinear, and this line has to be collinear with this one, and this line and this line and this line all have to be equal to each other. So once I do that, everything becomes fully defined. So now what I want to do is, again, I just want to extrude back to this surface. Now, here's where I might run into an issue. Let's see what's going to happen. So I'm going to go Features, Extruded Cut, and the depth I need to go up to is, well, if I went up, let me show you. If I go up just to a distance of 1, I think this is going to give me an error. So if I try to go back to a distance of 1 and say OK, there, that's the error, because it's going to get a rebuild error because I'm basically going to make this surface disappear and some other edges. So it doesn't want to do that, but I don't want to go back to a distance of 1. I actually want to go back a full distance of 2. So if I say OK, in that case, the part actually builds for me. All right, so looking at this in shaded view, we have our part. Now, another way to have built this part would have been to do it as an additive. So you could have just built this bottom layer and then put on this piece and then build up this whole wall. Essentially, I could come up the whole way around and put in some additional pieces. So let me show you how we would go about doing that. So let me start a new part. And with this time, I'm going to create a new sketch. I'll sketch on the top plane this time and create a, in this case, a 6x5 rectangle. And I'm going to extrude it up a distance of 1. So Features, Extruded Boss, and they'll come up a distance of 1. All right, so then on this one, I'm going to come around and create this whole wall without this square and without this little rectangle. So I'm going to go Sketch, Sketch onto this surface, and I am going to just create a line. I'll go from here up over about 1, come back, it's going to be about 2, and I'm going to come all the way over to here. And now I got to make sure I go ahead and close this curve and come down and come down. So now I have a closed curve. Put my dimensions in. So this is a dimension of 1. The dimension here is a dimension of 1. This is a dimension of 2. And this dimension here to here is also a dimension of 2. So now I have this wall created. I can make this a extruded boss. Okay, where am I? Oh, I did the same thing here once before. So I have an extra line showing up here. So let me just select this line and I'll hit delete. And oh, it looks like I never created that line at all. So let me go ahead and create it. So I'll go back to my sketch, line. Right, these are sometimes the mistakes that can be made. There we go. That looks much better. So we'll go back to Features, Extruded Boss, and I want to go up a distance of 3. So select in here, and we'll say OK. So now there's just 2 last features I need to make. So this rectangle here. So I could either sketch on this surface or the front surface. I'll sketch on the front surface. So sketch, and I'll use my corner rectangle. Select here and here. I'll select these lines, hold with my control key, make them equal to each other. And if I had wanted to, and I can probably still do this, let me drag this until we get the center line. There we go. So now, because it's the center of this line, so now I didn't have to put any constraints there. And I will go Features, Extruded Boss, and I'm going to flip its direction, and I'll say up to surface. In this case, it's up to that surface. And that's selected. And the last thing I need to do is make my rectangle on this surface. So I'll go Sketch, Sketch, select this, and I'll use my corner rectangle here. But because I'm in this view, I can actually select that vertex as well, even though they're fairly separated from each other, but that's going to give me a fully constrained sketch, and I need to come at a distance of 1. So I'll do an extruded boss here of a distance of not 3, but 1. And that again creates the part. So one's doing it subtractive and one doing it as an additive process.